to win some epic
Hey everybody, there goes my awesome camera. So welcome. We're just gonna go with it. All right. It's totally fine. We're just gonna go with it. Thank you everybody. Welcome back to the Smokin' Studios here for yet another live episode of the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show. Really excited to have on both of these live guests. And this is driving me absolutely nuts. I literally just checked all of this stuff before the show. So either way, we're gonna go ahead and just kind of play with it. You know, it is what it is, and we'll kind of deal with it as it is. So awesome. Either way, let's go ahead and bring in the live guest because apparently this is the slide that actually fucking works tonight. All right, you gotta love when shit works. Everybody, I tested all of this before the show started. They were witness to it. I have no idea what the hell happened, but either way, this is the main slide of the night. So
I was dying laughing.
I know,
dying laughing.
Right, all of a sudden it's like this split fucking screen. I have no idea. Either way, thank you both very much. Bruce, you are coming through really loud.
Loud?
Loud, yeah. You got a lot of background noise in behind you.
Busy lounge.
Yeah, no, it's a busy lounge because Bruce is there. I
That's
don't know
right.
if you've ever experienced what Bruce is like to watch work, but my gosh, dude, this guy closes out the shop in style.
There you go.
And sells absolutely everything in sight. Bruce, it's been so long to have you back on the show, man. It's been about 1.5 years since the last time you've come on. So tell us a little bit on a catch up with you. But before you do, everybody obviously knows who Cigar Show Tim is that watches this show. Tim has been on numerous times. Tim, thank you so much for joining us on the show as well tonight. If you guys do not know Tim, I don't know what the fuck it is that you're watching. Tobacco Talk Media is the website. Just Google Tobacco Talk Media and you'll pull it up. He's got PCA coverage. He's also got a lot of insider stuff. He doesn't look like it, but the guy's got tons of insider knowledge for as young looking of a man as he is. I tell you what, I know, right?
Just cover the gray. Just cover the gray.
I know, right? Hey, Bruce, when are you growing out your beard?
Never. If you Google Bruce Busch Cigar Journal, you'll see a picture of me with my beard. And it's just gray down the center, and I was like, "Fuck that!" So I just shave it.
Right here. I got my skunk
it keeps me young, dude, man. You know, if I shave every day. Plus, you know, the chicks dig it. Right. My wife.
There you go.
Absolutely.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. So, all right, as I'm cutting everybody's screen off because I'm screwing with stuff in the background here, let's go ahead and kind of dive in. Bruce, you are at an event tonight. That is what the background is. That is why all the commotion. And again, everybody, if you have never been to I wanted to say K by Karen. I almost did. But if you have not been to a Karen Berger cigar event, recently rebranded in the last 9 months, right, Bruce? To Karen Berger
About
Cigars.
About a year ago. Karen Berger Cigars.
Okay. So if you have not had the opportunity, go. Bruce is electric in these things. I tell you, there's not a hand that goes unshook whoever comes through that lounge. Now, just because I'm super excited to smoke what we're about to smoke tonight, and I don't even dare to change screens here because something's wrong with my OBS configuration that I will be working on. Bruce, tell us what you and I are smoking tonight, and then Tim, I would like to know what you're smoking tonight. And yes, please go ahead.
So this is Ixtelli, and this is actually brilliant on Karen's part. She copyrighted the original name of Esteli, Nicaragua, kind of like, you know, whenever the Spanish showed up in Latin America and the English showed up here in the United States. They took Native American names and just altered them a little bit, and that became the name of wherever they were. Like, I'm currently in Nashville, Tennessee. Obviously, Nashville is not an indigenous name, but Tennessee obviously is. It was probably something else at one point in time, and the English made it Tennessee, right? So the same is true with Ixtelli. That was the Nahuatl language for the city of Esteli, and then the Spanish showed up, and they're like, Esteli, they Spanglicize the word, kind of. So this is our first ever Nicaraguan Puro.
Nice.
Contrary to popular belief, people think that we've had a Puro before, and we haven't, because some websites say we do, and we really don't. This is our first one.
Well, how would you know? The websites know way more than you do, Bruce. I don't believe the national sales director of the company selling the cigar at all.
And if it's on the internet, it has to be true.
Right,
right.
Tim will tell you, media never lies. There's
No.
never bloviation or anything in there. So, well, I am really, really looking forward. I know I don't have the slide, but this segment is brought to you by Steve Saka over at Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, the What Are You Smoking Tonight segment. This is a really, really good cigar so far. First draw was really nice, flavorful, good full draw. Tim, what are you smoking tonight?
So I am starting off. I've got another one on deck, a different cigar, but I'm starting off with the new Artesano del Tobacco, the Viva La Vida Connecticut.
Okay,
and
that's good.
Really, really good cigar. And
that
so
was
I figured
the
I'd start with
PCA
this
one, right? That was the one that they talked about. Yeah, that's got great reviews.
Yeah, great flavor. I'll be reviewing it soon once I get back into doing reviews here shortly. But walked up to Billy and Gus, of course, say hey to them, shake their hands, all that kind of stuff. And Billy being Billy is just like, here, we want your review. We know you're going to like it. Just take some. Okay, sounds good, brother. No problem. And I have been enjoying every single one of them.
That is a good cigar. What was the second one you said?
The next one that's on deck is a Luciano Delay.
Okay. Awesome. Good choices.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce, we have another cigar that you had released. So we had this one that you had talked about at PCA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this one, which my guess is the pairing to the tailgate. Is that a correct assumption? Is it in the same line, even though, I mean, halftime, tailgate, I see a little theme going on where it's kind of, line driven.
Tim Swanson from Cigars Daily is like, okay, tailgate, halftime. What's the next one? Puking your guts out after the game's over because you drank too much?
So that one's got to be a super strong one.
Right.
That one's got to be a super strong one.
Halftime is pretty cool, man. So I asked Karen, I was like, tailgate was our #1 seller for a while. It's still like #2 right now. And I was like, since it's such a hit, let me do another cigar. Let me name it. Let me do it. She's like, okay. And then the part comes where you actually have to name it. And I'm like, what the fuck am I going to name this thing, right? So I'm driving around upstate New York, and I was in Poughkeepsie, New York, and I saw a place called Halftime Liquors. I was like, that's it. And then I always bring the name to Karen, and if she frowns at me, I know it's dead in the water. But I said halftime to her, and she's like, yes! I'm like, all right, we're jamming, baby, and
sold.
And then, and this cigar, the tailgate, it's actually, halftime is a cigar we already have in production. It's a private client cigar kind of that we've made for someone who shall remain anonymous. And we picked it up, we started smoking.
Whoop.
We started smoking. That's
sold out. So like, if you want,
okay.
If you want a box, you can't get one.
Okay. Well, I can tell you right now, if you're in the Colorado Springs area or in Colorado area in general, big shout out to Veronica and Mike and team over there at Stag for helping me get these two amazing cigars tonight. So if you're in the Colorado Springs area or in the Denver area and can't find the halftime, I know for a fact there's at least half to 3/4 of a box left in Veronica's shop. So
nice.
Mm-hmm. So sorry everybody, it is a little loud in the back where Bruce is because he is at an event in the show. But so Bruce, tell us a little bit. Are we now looking at like a sports theme line going through from you?
Yes, and Karen and someone else on our team was like, okay, no more football cigars after this. I'm like, well, if tailgate and halftime become our #1 and 2 seller, wouldn't it be like not doing our due diligence not to name another cigar in the future, something that happens maybe after the game, you know. So I think I've got her convinced that'll be part of my football career.
Okay.
Or you go into overtime and you call it sudden death and make it the strongest cigar in the world.
Yeah, I like it. Now,
Tim, you want to know something? Tim, you want to know something funny? You're the
What's that?
seventh person in the last like 3 weeks to tell me the next one should be overtime and it should be a full-bodied cigar. You're the seventh person to tell me that. So
Well, then clearly I'm speaking with and along and for the masses then.
Yeah.
Well,
so you just got to talk to Karen about that. I mean, I mentioned overtime to her. She's like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, I'll work on her.
I tell you though, with a full body like that, you'd have to bring in AJ for something like that. Because that would be like the but that would be, wouldn't that be kind of like the top of the line for that series would be the overtime one?
Probably. It would be the beastiest one out of all. Yeah.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Okay, well, I just know you guys created an incredible cigar with AJ. Like that was absolutely fantastic. I don't even want to tell you what I had to do to get one because they were already sold out everywhere. It was bad. So are we kind of looking at like more to come in like a Connecticut, and you know, are we going to be expansive? And the reason why I'm asking this is because, dude, that's got to make you feel absolutely incredible. You've been with Karen Berger for what, 4 years now, 5 years now,
5 years,
and
5 years.
your cigar that you put out, number 2 on their selling list, halftime's getting amazing reviews. So like, are we gonna see a Bruce Busch spinoff, like whole Karen Berger series?
Yeah, they'll always say by Karen Berger at the bottom.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But like your
yeah,
line.
I've got so many names, man. Like 2-point conversion, 2-minute warning. I mean, like I've got a plethora of names. It's kind of funny because when you go to copyright a name, you find out that they've all been done already. And like my names that I have, they're all available. You know, so that's a strong point. You know, because it's like if you do anything with like military or with like, you know, the fields in Nicaragua or the names of leagues, like that stuff's been done already. You know.
Yep.
But like no one's really touched the sports arena that much. You know. I mean, we could do like piss break. I don't know, you know, whatever. You know. There's a ton of names we can come up with.
No, there is, and you know what would be a fun 2-point, not 2-point, but a 2-minute warning would be like a small little cornet, like a tiny 20-minute cigar for a 2-minute warning. I don't know, something quick.
Hell yeah.
But
yeah, petite Corona.
Yeah, but that's the word I was looking for, petite Corona.
I got you, Ryan. No problem.
I'm a little flustered from half the screen at the beginning of the show, right? Because I literally said, okay, anyways, forget about it. So Bruce, how was your PCA this year? How has Karen, you know, over the last 5 years that you've been with them, kind of what's that PCA experience started at and where is it at now?
Well, it's I figured out a long time ago. Actually, someone told me the key, and I do it all the time now. PCA is not about putting a booth there and hoping people walk up to it. I take the ledger of everyone that's coming to PCA, and I spend a month of my life in my garage, in my little cubby hole in my man cave, right? And I call every single shop that's coming, and I try to talk to the person in charge. I tell them it's a painstaking month of my life, right? But by doing that, talk to anyone. The Karen Berger booth is packed at PCA, like 3 deep, and we sold our asses off. We had our biggest year ever at PCA. I know it was a tough year. You know, I mean, the economy's not been great and all that, but like, you know, we did really, really well. And it's less about it's like if you play like basketball or hockey or soccer. There's a thing called hit and hope where you just hit it down the field and hope something good happens. No, if you strategically make your way through it, you're very successful, and that's kind of what we've been doing. So it was fantastic for us.
Yeah, every time I walk by, you guys are busy.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
we were killing it.
Tim, what was your experience with the booth over there?
Say that again, Ryan.
I was gonna say, what was your experience at PCA with the booth? Were you able to get in there and see them? I didn't.
No,
catch if
I
you caught
didn't
'em.
this year. There were a number of booths that I didn't even get to this year, just because it's just me. And if I didn't have a scheduled appointment, I wasn't gonna weasel my way in and take from what somebody else may have scheduled and all that. But I went by, and I mean, like Bruce said, it was busy every single time I went by.
And that's a really good thing, because as Karen Berger's been growing so much, and I know Bruce has been busting his ass to line up all those accounts. Bruce, what is it like now for you when you call on these accounts? Like 5 years ago, obviously, for those of you that don't know anything about Karen Berger Cigars, she's been in the industry a lot longer than everybody really knows. I mean, Don Kiki was very integral in keeping Drew Estate alive, for those of you that don't know. So the lineage and the heritage with Karen Berger Cigars and Don Kiki line is vast, but I don't really feel like a lot of the population of the cigar world knew about Karen Berger Cigars, primarily before you came on, Bruce. So what has that been experience like, where people are like, oh, I know you, versus in the beginning, you were, a lot of times you would tell me like a lot of people would tell us they've never heard of us before.
Yeah, it was an under the radar brand for sure for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I met her in 2020, I was like, I smoked her cigars for the first time. And I was like, these are the best cigars I've heard that no one knows about. I was like, why is that, So she's like, oh, I don't know, Bruce, I have some trouble with this, that, the next thing. So I went home and I told my wife, I was an educator, I was a teacher and a professor for 20 years. And I went home and I told my wife, I was like, I'm going to sell cigars for this woman. My wife was like, Casey, what do you know about selling? I was like, nothing. But I'm confident in myself. I like cigars. I'm a pretty smart guy. So I got on with her, and I've been busting my ass for 5 years, and we're in over 1,300 stores around the United States now.
That's awesome.
41 countries. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think. Go ahead, Ryan.
So how many were you in when you started?
Karen doesn't like me to say, but less than 100.
Well, no, like that's a number, quite frankly, that she should be proud of, for one, because that shows that her decision to bring you aboard was the right decision, because you went from less than 100, regardless of what the 2-digit number is, you went from a less than 3-digit number to over a 4-digit number in 5 years. So the investment with you is very much paid off. That should be a number that, quite frankly, you guys should swing to the trees from and shout from the mountaintops on your website that you went from less than 100 stores to over 1,400 stores in 5 years. That's a huge testament to not being a good salesman. That's a testament to being a good cigar.
Both. I mean,
well, no, yes, but you got everybody in there, but the cigar kept it coming back, is my point.
Yeah, you can get it in the first time, but until you start getting turns and reorders, then that's what tells you whether or not the cigar is going to sell itself and whether or not people are enjoying it or not. Because if you don't get the turns, then it's evident that the cigar is not going to cut it.
So, go ahead.
Well, it's a very unique position, because when I got with her, I had no idea who she was, and I didn't know anything about the company. They didn't realize this is a legacy company. 61 acres of land in Espanola, all vertical process from the seed to smoke. I mean, there's a handful of companies that have that going on, and then there's even less that have their tobacco fields in between Oliva, AJ, and Placencia like we do. So we have the best soil on earth. I mean, it's like we're growing, dairy cows in Wisconsin or something like that. We're in the right spot for the product we have,
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you guys have done a really good job. And in fact, JM Dive says here that I would like to thank Karen and Bruce for being instrumental in bringing their cigars to Canada. I have waited patiently for this to happen. I'm so forward to my cigar, or to for my cigar establishment to stock Karen Berger cigars, and the great North needs good cigars. I agree with you, sir.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah, that's exciting. We got distribution in Canada at the trade show this year, so very exciting for us.
So how much this year did you grow in the trade show versus previous years?
We're up 20% probably.
Good for you.
Very
Yeah,
good for you.
pretty substantial.
Again, I don't know why Karen doesn't want that number out there. That's a number to be proud. I mean, am I wrong in that, Tim? Like that's a
No.
number to be proud of, to go from under 3 digits to over 4 digits. In 5 years. I mean,
Yeah, and when you're looking
work
at
with smaller
20%
brands.
growth year over year at a trade show, especially one where many people were flat. There were quite a few that were up, but there were some that were down. You know, that's a story worth sharing.
Absolutely, and you come from the boutique cigar side too. I mean, to take a smaller company now. Granted, Karen's got the infrastructure to grow that fast.
Oh yeah,
But that would either be overwhelming or all consuming for a lot of other brands that are not obviously to that scalability that Karen has. So that is a
Yep.
big feather she's got in her cap when it comes to growth.
Yep, definitely.
I will say this is fantastic, man.
You like it?
I like it, and I like the fact that you guys are stemming away from the Karen Berger Habano, Karen Berger this. You guys are creating your own names, and you're not just keeping them simplistic. If that makes sense, it allows more of a story to come from the cigar when you have a little bit more of an in-depth, robust background in the name.
Absolutely, man, and that's something we talked about. I mean, that was like a decision we came to because the AJ cigar we came out with is called the K by Karen Berger 25th Anniversary by AJ Fernandez. That's the name of the cigar, which is one of the best cigars I've heard. But I told
That's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. I know. So a lot of people are like, "Can I get the AJ, the 25th, the K, the?" So after that, the next cigar was called Tailgate. Nice
One
and
word.
simple, you know, clean.
So what has been some of the give us some of the insider background information to how you and Karen operate when it comes to push and pull within the company, when it comes to creative side of the business. Obviously, we all know Karen's got final say everything, but how much does she kind of let you drive the car and her be in the back seat? Now that obviously you've shown that you know what the fuck it is that you're doing.
Yeah, you know how to drive the car.
Yeah.
Right. Well, as far as the wholesale division is concerned, I have carte blanche, right? Like I just tell her, I'm like, look, I'm going to open up the Nebraska market. I'm going to open up the New Mexico market. And she's like, all right, go ahead. Okay, but it's one of those things, like, she gives me enough rope to hang myself with, right? So if I go to New Mexico or I go to Nebraska, so, bring our cigars there, I better whip some ass, or else I'm going to have egg on my face. And so I'm not the kind of guy that likes to lose and shit. So when I do that, I go hardcore and I've incorporated a lot of sales strategies and all that. So as far as the selling is concerned, I have carte blanche. The creation is Karen, though, right? The creation is Karen, but I tell her sometimes, like, look, I was like, I'm an American dude. I drink beers, I smoke cigars, I watch football. I mean, I know how to connect with a lot of these guys. I know how to give them something.
She's got a built-in demographic.
I'm a built-in test market.
Bruce the guinea pig Busch.
Yeah.
That's it. I can go with that. Yeah. Brian, I got something funny to tell you. So, when I do like shows like this and Facebook Lives and whatever else, right? For a while in this business, all the guys in this business are so macho. The machismo is like ridiculous. It's like dripping. Everyone's like, this, that, macho guy, muscular, motorcycle, guns, whatever, So I'm like, I can't be, that's not who I am, right? So I'm like, I can't be that. So I kept doing Facebook Lives, and this is Bruce Busch with Karen Berger Cigars, and it was white noise. All of a sudden, I changed my little moniker to Brucey Poo. And I started saying, yo, it's Brucey Poo. I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee. We're smoking cigars. We're drinking some whiskey. Come chill with me, Brucey Poo out. You know? Dude, I walk into a lounge in Wisconsin or Texas or New Jersey, and you're like, Brucey Poo, what's up, dude? And, man, when you make fun of yourself, it is the most opening thing in the world. When you try to act like you're cool with other people, it's white noise, man. So I made that little adjustment, and that little adjustment has increased sales. I'm not lying.
Well,
There you
yeah,
go.
it's all about marketing yourself. It's all about finding a way to create a niche, a name that you stick. I mean, Matt Booth, but we all call him Boofy.
Boofy.
You know, we all call him Boofy, and some of us call him a lot more than Boofy. But but the point of it is like, you know, little nicknames like that, when they're good and they fit, they stick. It's a big marketing thing. I mean, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
it's a big way to add your little touch onto an event.
No doubt about it. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I mean, Matt Booth is kind of, sort of the inspiration for it, you know, because he's out there, everyone else doing the macho shit. He's like, it's Boofy, baby. You know, he's like, I'm going to sprinkle my molestial seasonings on your forehead. I mean, who the fuck says shit like that, you know?
Boofy.
Only Boofy.
With a tremendous amount of success, I might add.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You know?
A tremendous
So why
amount of
not?
success.
Why the fuck not? You know? Yeah, I like it. It's cool. It's funny. It's fun. It knocks down doors. You know? I mean, I'm not another macho guy coming in doing his macho thing. You know? So it's awesome.
See what
Got to be you and have fun.
Yeah, if you can't laugh at yourself for those of you that have never done face-to-face sales, if you can't laugh at yourself during that, like, you're stiff, you're rigid, you're not going to come across as a real person. Part of what I somebody that's been in sales, marketing, whatever, business consulting 25 years, one of the first things I do when I get into a room is try to break the ice by jabbing something at myself. Like, oh, I know, when I get into a Zoom thing, I never show my picture. I'm always like, yeah, I'm doing you a favor. That picture's, you know, that's after hours of trials and errors. You know, that's the best you're gonna get. You know, trust me. So it's little stuff like that, but it breaks that, and it allows you to humanize yourself a lot more. So little stuff like that, Bruce, is definitely a way for you to be able to Brucey poo yourself into a shop.
No doubt about it. No doubt. It's worked well.
So you're out traveling a whole lot. Where have you been out traveling? Because for those of you that don't know, Bruce is home about 3 hours a month.
That's true, man. Diamond Elite Gold member at IHG, man. It's beautiful. But right now, I'm south of Nashville, Tennessee, in a place called Laverne, Tennessee, right? And I'm at Torch Cigar Lounge, which is a dynamite lounge. My boy Matt's the owner here. So I'm doing Nashville today, Paducah, Kentucky tomorrow, then back to Nashville, then back home again. And then I'll be coming out to the Rocky Mountains in September and doing an event September 26th at Stag Tobacconist. So for you people in Colorado, Stag Tobacconist, it moved to Thursday. And you know how Veronica does it there. I'm trapped in the humidor for 7 hours, you know, selling cigars. But I love it because I adore Veronica and I adore that place. It's awesome.
It's also one of the biggest humidors west of the Mississippi.
No doubt about it.
I mean,
I call her humidor. I call it the Enchanted Forest.
Yeah, Tim, it's every bit of. Would you say about 1,000, 1,200 square feet? The humidor.
That's awesome.
It's bigger than my house.
Yeah, I've got good friends that go there, or a broker that has his cigars in there and everything, and he raves about Stag every single time he goes out there.
Yeah, it's really nice.
You need a trail of breadcrumbs to find your way out of
it. That's awesome.
True. So, Bruce, you have bundles of cigars at the Mill Creek Cigar Lounge in Erie, PA. Yeah. What was the name of those bundles? We're being asked that question.
Don Kiki Red and Don Kiki Brown.
Don Kiki Red, Don Kiki Brown, Richard. So obviously, go ahead. No, those are
two of our original lines. We have 4 cigars: Don Kiki white, green, red, and brown. And those are the original 4 cigars that Don Kiki made when he had Cuban crafters. And that's the reason why our company was so slow growing, because the focus was more on making cigars for Cuban crafters in Miami and Daytona and Lauderdale and all that. So we still have those cigars. They're long filler. They retail for $6 a piece, except for bad tax states where they're like $7 or $7.50 or whatever, you know.
California.
In California, it'd be $24 a cigar.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, but we still have those, and in Pennsylvania, there's no tobacco tax like my home state of Florida, so they're truly like $6 a stick. They're amazing cigars.
So as you guys are growing, obviously, I think also, in the beginning before you came on, I think one of the reasons why Karen Berger Cigars didn't take off to the extent that they are now is they focused so much on the Don Kiki line. I mean, they did. They focused a lot on Don Kiki. They focused a lot on Don Kiki still being, the main person in the company, even though he had been gone for a very long time. A lot of the brand was an ode. Would you agree with me, Bruce? Just nod. I've got you muted just for your background. Yeah.
Hey, Brandon Marsh is in the comments. Sorry.
Hey, there's Brandon with Brucey Poo. So how has that conversation? Because I know you've probably been integral in like the let's make it about you and the brand, not the lineage of Don Kiki. Obviously, keeping his cigars in play; those will always be in play. But I feel like since the brand has moved forward and like accepted the fact that Don Kiki's not around anymore and is finding its own voice in the market as Karen Berger Cigars. I mean, does that make Tim? Does that make sense? Before I get Bruce's comment, what I'm saying?
Yeah, what I'm hearing you say is you're not forgetting him, but you're paying homage by keeping them alive, but still recognizing that this is a new chapter in the company.
Yeah, and the brand is moving forward with the Karen Berger voice of the company.
Sure.
And taste. Bruce, is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't give total credit to myself. Jonathan Drew was the first person to tell Karen that always honor Kiki, but you're the face now. You need a Karen Berger cigar. That was the first K by Karen Berger, which, by the way, the K by Karen Berger stands for Kiki, not Karen.
Yes.
And so that was the first initial part of it. And then Karen wanted to call the company like K by Karen Berger / Don Kiki, right? And that's when a year ago I didn't force her, but I asked her to rebrand to Karen Berger Cigars. And the idea now is we want to be the next AJ Fernandez. I know That's big talk. I get it, right? But she was kind of at a crossroads, like honor Don Kiki, be the woman in the cigar industry. And I was like, that's cool. We can do all that. But we need it to be clean and simple. Karen Berger Cigars. And I want the 3 words, by Karen Berger, to be at the bottom of everything we do. Kind of like what AJ did, by AJ Fernandez, right? And then after a while, and now, that's kind of taking off. If it says by Karen Berger, you know what you're getting. You're getting an incredible level of quality in your cigar. You're getting Nicaraguan tobacco, rich volcanic soil, Espanola Nicaragua. You're getting the whole package, seed to smoke. And that is going to be synonymous with by Karen Berger going forward.
Now, obviously, you guys, and Tim, feel free to jump in if you have any questions over anything. But as somebody that would you still classify Karen Berger as boutique?
Yeah, well,
because I get the different levels of like 1 million cigars a year or less or whatever is not. So there's no hard and fast definition of boutiques. That's why I ask.
Well, here's my definition of boutique, because everyone struggles with it, right? And I tell people all the time, if I go into a lounge in the United States of America and I say, do you know Karen Berger Cigars? If someone still says no, we're boutique.
That's a good way to, and that's a good way to approach it. I mean, there are people that still consider Espanola boutique, or, a bunch of other brands that have become very, very well known. And yeah, you can do it by 100 or excuse me, 1,000,000 cigars a year rolled, or this or that, or oh, they, you know, their factory rolls for others, and you know they put out theirs, but it's a secondary thing, or you know they're trying to build their own. So their main brand is boutique. I mean, you can look at a brand like Casa Cuevas. They've been rolling cigars for other people for decades and decades and decades. But Casa Cuevas is still considered a boutique brand because, like you said, Bruce, which I think was very, you know, hit the nail on the head. If you walk in someplace and they still haven't heard of your brand, you're boutique. Now, if you become a household name everywhere and you become a Room 101 or you become an AJ Fernandez or something like that, then really the boutique, you know, kind of moniker could easily go out the window because it's not so small that people aren't familiar with you yet.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, and I would say that Dunbarton, Foundation, and Espanola for me are the three companies that are leaving the boutique sphere. Those are the three that are kind of leaving that sphere and moving up to big brand right now, right? That's somewhere we'd all like to be, but well, I mean, we're not there yet. I'm in Tennessee and I went to a lounge today. I asked a guy, he heard of Berger Cigars? He said no. And I'm in Nashville right now, which is I don't know if you guys know about Nashville. It's a cigar mecca.
Yeah.
And it's still, we're still not there. You know, I could still go to a shop anywhere in California. I can go to a shop in Oregon or something like that, and they still don't know who we are. So there's still work to be done.
So Bruce, without giving us this number, because it's just not a number I think we need to have, are you above or below 1,000,000 cigars a year?
Above.
Above? Okay. So there you go, Bruce. They're above 1,000,000 cigars a year. So on that boutique 1,000,000 cigar threshold, they don't qualify for it. But I would agree with you if you're still walking in shops and a lot of people aren't hearing you, right? It's kind of one of those things that boutique title is so flimsy, you know, and I mean, on the flip side, somebody would probably ask, can a company that's vertically integrated be called boutique? What would you say to that, Tim?
I would say look at all the signs behind you. And there are some that have been very well known that have taken off well, that, you know, whether it's 3, 5, 10, 20, 50 years, whatever it is, are becoming very recognizable, like a Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, or you go to some that are smaller but have put out really, really limited, big time consumer attention things like Cigar Clowns, or Micallef, who is really integrated into the brick and mortars and how they do their model. Or you look at somebody like Big Sky, where they're definitely in the boutique market. I've known them. I mean, Brandon obviously was in the comments a few minutes ago. I've known Brandon and Coleman for years, basically since they started. I saw them when they were at their very first trade show in Vegas, and they're getting more attention and exposure. But am I going to say that they're anywhere close to a larger boutique? No, they're not. And that's not a slam on them. It's just where they are currently, and they're growing.
Go ahead, Bruce.
So I got some bad news. I don't have my charger with me. My phone's at 3% right now.
Oh, fine.
So
okay.
I'm about to disappear into Never Neverland here in a second.
No worries, Bruce.
So let me wrap this up by saying, Ryan, Tim, thank you guys for having me tonight, man. And dude, I love the fact you're still there supporting us, man. And you guys out there, check out the Ixtili and the Halftime. They're great cigars. And I'm at 2% now. If I cut out, just know I love you guys. And Brucey Poo is here. You can reach out to me on social media anytime you want. Anyone, talk to me. And I'll see you about getting our cigars at your local shop.
Good seeing you again, Bruce.
Take it easy, buddy. We'll see you. All right, we'll move this down here, and we'll pull Bruce.
And we're going to dance around on screen.
We're going to dance around on screen a little bit. So, all right, well, so I want to kind of continue this discussion with you because I'm a little curious to your take on this whole thing. So let me adjust myself.
Yeah, do whatever.
Can a company that is like truly a vertically integrated company like that, like I get the 1,000,000 cigars as being the thing, but can a company that's really truly vertically integrated? Because again, for those of you that don't know, Karen Berger Cigars is a massive cigar company, and they have their own fields, rollers. distribution, sales team? Like, at what point in time does the company cease to be boutique versus the cigar? Does that make sense?
It does, and I'll give you one really good example, and it's because you've had them scrolling on the bottom.
Oh yeah, I can hear you. Oh, hold on one sec. This is ridiculous. Literally all of this stuff just crapped out on me. All right, so 2 seconds here. Priority. Pace. All right.
Few minutes.
There you go. All right. So we got you up. Okay, there you go. I'll fix the name here. So, all right. So please continue.
But yeah, look at Gran Habano. Look at other brands that have that same capability, and you know, of all of the examples, I would say that either APS Sereno or Gran Habano are probably the two best examples of brands that can really do it all. I mean, APS Sereno, I mean, Carson is a great guy. I've known him for a number of years, and most house sticks when you go to a cigar lounge, a large majority of brick and mortars across the country, they're APS Sereno sticks. APS does the house bundles, they do all of that. Yes, they get rebranded. Yes, they get they're white labeled, all that kind of stuff. But you look at brands, two different brands like that, where they are producing well over 1 million cigars a year, but they're not out of the boutique category because of whether you want to call it market saturation, whether you want to call it brand awareness, whatever label you want to put on it. But their involvement within the industry goes so much further that yes, their brand is still considered boutique, but even them, I would still say that they're a boutique company as a whole, because they're not. You don't hear of people going, "Oh yeah, this is an Espanola cigar, and we partnered with George Rico of Gran Habano to make it for us." He's not at the AJ Fernandez level. Now, does Gran Habano make phenomenal cigars? Absolutely. And I love George dearly. I talk with him every time I
Same
go to the
here.
trade shows.
He's a
And,
supporter of the
and he,
show.
absolutely. And he's a great guy. But that doesn't mean just because he's vertically integrated and just because of everything that he does, or like APS or any of those, that they're not boutique, in my opinion, because they're not being hit up by a bunch of other brands to collaborate with or to blend their cigars for them. Now, if they're rolling for them, they're rolling. They're not blending the cigar like an AJ would, or like an Espinosa would, or somebody like that. And so, in my opinion, they are still absolutely 100% in the boutique category, because Bruce touched on it as far as brand awareness, brand familiarity. But one of the things also, when you get to be the brands that are going from being boutique into being one of the larger ones, and not a legacy brand, obviously, but is how much are you partnering with other people to roll their cigars, to blend with them, to do all those different things. And Espinosa is a unique one because they've done blending with AJ Fernandez, but Espinosa, Eric and all of them are getting big enough to where they're partnering with other people to roll them. I mean, I've had cigars that have been put out by other brands that have been blended and rolled, or a combination of the two, with Eric's help and things like that. Or you look at someone like Ricky Rodriguez of West Tampa, who's just a phenomenal guy, and
Love
he's partnered
Ricky.
with somebody smaller like Luciano, who's a dear friend of mine, and they've partnered together and done cigars. But that doesn't put Ricky into that more mainstream level, because West Tampa is a smaller brand, is a smaller company, and yeah, he's got his decades of experience with General and with everything that he's
Yeah, but
done at CSO.
Luciano's that vertically, or not Luciano. Ricky's that vertically integrated, and he
Correct.
just started.
Correct, but and that's why I'm saying there's gray areas, because you can have someone that's got all the experience but starts their own new brand, and their name, you would think, makes them a bigger player than they are, but they don't fit into that bigger category yet because of a multiple level of what I guess qualifiers. or different check boxes to check off whether they're vertically integrated, whether they make their own boxes, whatever the case may be. It is a gray definition and a moving target always, in my opinion, for someone to no longer be considered boutique, which is why I think there are 40 million different definitions of what a boutique brand is.
Do you think that a company, because obviously Espinosa's getting up there, a few of these companies we're talking about are definitely teetering if we're going to go off of PCA terminology, teetering on the million cigars or less. Obviously Espinosa is probably much higher than that.
Oh, easily.
So does a cigar brand, like, I guess when does the cigar brand cease to be able to say there? Because it's kind of like one of those, I don't want to give up the title. Does that make sense? Like, I'm boutique. I'm always boutique. I could be Padron size. I'm still boutique. So like it kind of does that make sense what I'm kind of getting at? Like
it does, and I guess my answer on that would be,
oh, Tim, we lost you. We lost Tim for a sec. Something went out with his internet. He'll be right back. Yep, his internet completely cut out. So I think that's a valid question. I'm curious to hear what everybody has to kind of say about that. Throw in the comments. Do you think a company that has over 1 million cigars a year that loses that boutique title, do you think they can keep that? I'm just really curious if you guys, or does it even matter? Like, we always talk about boutique and what it is and how it all works, but I'm really curious, does it matter to you guys? To me, I care much more about the cigar. How does the cigar feel? How does the cigar taste? How does it smoke? And I mean, I guess where I'm at in my cigar journey right now, I'll be upfront with you. I'm a lot less willing to maybe grab one of the bigger brands, not saying Espinosa's, but one of the bigger legacy brands over something different, over something new, or a smaller brand. And a lot of that's been my buddy Danny Ravanelli of 505 Cigar Review has taught me that a lot of times you find a lot better flavor, construction, just structure of the cigar, the flow of the cigar, the balance of the cigar is much better within the smaller brands. And I'm curious, if you're watching, throw your comment out. Would you agree with me on that? Do you think smaller companies make better cigars as an overall? I'm not saying as a rule. But let's see. Yeah, I smoke everything too, Brian. I don't think that's an issue. I think that oftentimes, I just think oftentimes the bigger brands can kind of lose track of the consumer through their own success. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone, but let me see if we can get Tim back. Hold on. Just sent out the thing to him. We'll see if he can rejoin. I got to admit here though, like, part of, yeah, I've been leaning towards grabbing the smaller brands myself too, and I think a lot. Oh, there you are, Tim. Hold on, let me bring you in. Okay.
With having a camera on, it still shows me the OBS screen.
Okay. Yep. For some reason, when you cut out, it quit that screen. So.
Oh, there we are.
All right. Let's do that. There we go. All right. So, Tim, what I was just kind of talking about while you were gone is I know it shouldn't be this way, and I'm not naming any specific brands. You're more than welcome to, but I feel that some of the bigger brands take for granted that they have an active consumer line and throw out a lot. And then there's the brands that cherish the consumer line and throw out
Mhm.
the best they have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Part of what I was saying, and I don't know where I cut out, or let's see, what did you say? Smaller companies care more about their cigars, more care, more quality. Yeah, I would agree with that, Richard. And that's when I got into cigar media specifically. That was one of the things that boutique brands like to use to differentiate themselves. Is we give more attention to our
Thanks,
cigars,
Bruce.
the quality of them, all those different things. But it's one of those things where I can see why boutique brands want to hold on to the title of boutique, because there's only ever been, and if this already got said and you heard it, then go ahead and stop me. I've only ever heard the two categories of heritage and boutique, and maybe Bruce's moniker of midsize is, or of mainstream, is what needs to come in now. But all I ever knew was there was heritage and there was boutique, and heritage was the multi-generational. But you've got companies like Casa Cuevas where they're in their fifth generation, and Luis Cuevas Jr.'s grandfather was kicked out of Cuba by Castro, and so there isn't a clear definition. Honestly, I don't think there really ever will be a clear definition of what makes you boutique, because unless you're a new brand that's only been around for 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years, you're not rolling 1 million cigars or more a year. But you may have great market saturation, but you're not rolling more than 1 million. And even then, when you get to other brands that are doing more than 1 million, do they really have the market saturation to justify no longer being boutique? And I don't think they do.
Okay, so this is interesting. So I like this conversation because this is getting more into the philosophical approach of what is boutique.
Hmm.
And it's not getting into the rational numbers based approach, but you're getting into the more holistic understanding or knowledge of the brand.
Yes.
So how many out of 10 shops, how many in your opinion should know the brand before it's not boutique?
Before it's not boutique, they should all be carrying it before it's not boutique. If they're, or they should be wanting it and waiting to bring it in. But if the supply isn't there for it, they're waiting to place their first order. But you can go into any brick and mortar, any lounge, any shop, and you can say, "Oh, I want a Drew Estate, acid blondie,"
Yeah,
or
but you're only talking about a handful of companies then that aren't boutique.
yeah.
Because
And
there's only
in
a
my
handful of companies that are known on the nationwide level. I mean, Dunbarton
which is
is
why people hold on to the
massive,
boutique title so much.
but there's a lot of companies. There's a lot of shops that don't know Dunbarton or carry Dunbarton
Sure, and there are a lot of shops that choose not to carry Dunbarton because of order minimums and qualifying order
for
to open
whatever
the
reason.
account.
Yeah.
A number of different reasons for it. But I think the boutique label probably covers about 90% of the cigar industry, 90 to 95%. And I think brand owners would consider themselves boutique as well, even if they are larger scale. Do I consider Micallef boutique? 100%. I
I
consider
would consider them
Micallef boutique.
boutique, a hundred
I
percent.
mean, there are only a few, and Bruce mentioned them. Whether it's Dunbarton or whether it's Espinosa or others that are getting into that more mainstream category that he mentioned. Um, Again, I go back to all I've ever heard for years in this industry and smoking cigars and around them is there's heritage, which is multi-generational legacy, and there's boutique. And unless you're multi-generational, Fuente Padron, Newman, those kinds of brands, you're considered boutique. But I mean, you could look at Drew Estate. Drew Estate has, I mean, the number one selling cigar in the world. But
Yeah, the Cuba Cuba.
I mean, are they still considered boutique? I mean, they're rolling probably 10, 20 million cigars a year.
Yeah, and then that comes to the other question: is can you have a non-boutique company even have a boutique line within that? And that gets really crazy and gray. The other
Right.
question to you I have is: does it even freaking matter? Like, does
No.
terms matter? So then why so often do people care about terminology of boutique, legacy, heritage, like why does it even matter? Like to what end is there an advantage over one or the other?
You know, first thing that came to mind, and I'll comment, Tatuaje Boutique, P. Johnson, absolutely, I would say P. Johnson, Tatuaje is boutique. But, you know, I think part of it was, and I'm not going to slam General at all for this, but, you know, General is known for when they absorb a brand, when they buy out a brand, that quality goes down because they're mass producing cigars. And I think boutique brands want to hold on to the quality control component of it and be able to tote the fact that they are boutique and that they pay attention to the construction and the draw and the quality control, you know, draw testing them, all those different things. And it doesn't mean that General is a bad brand by any mean whatsoever. And yeah, Dunbarton is global. There are a ton of, you know, small, mid-sized brands that are global. Absolutely. I mean, I'm smoking a Luciano. Luciano's global. He's in Germany. He's in Europe. I mean, I know Germany's in Europe, but he's, you know, he's in the European market. You know, he is global as well, but he is absolutely a boutique brand. And I think brands want to hold on to the boutique label because the connotation that there is better quality control, there is more attention to detail,
Okay.
and there is a direct awareness of the consumer and what their input is.
Okay, so you're coming at it from more of a clothing line boutique approach in the sense of like why they want to keep it is they want to keep it because we say we're a small boutique means we care versus the big legacies that could be seen as like Ford where you buy a car 3 months later it's in the shop. So like I totally, so is that kind of what you're talking about? Like they want to hold on to that moniker because of what the moniker represents, not necessarily because they see themselves that way.
Yeah, I mean, look at, you know, brands over the years, going with the clothing and apparel, you know, kind of analogy on it. Look at a brand like Quicksilver, or, you know, I mean, I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 80s and 90s, and so
Yeah,
Quicksilver and Roxy and
Quicksilver.
all that all
Oh
got
yeah,
popular when I was in high school.
Django.
And and as soon as Quicksilver was carried by Target, everybody was like, "Oh, no, they sold out. Went downhill. I don't want to buy it anymore. It's not special. It's not that company that's running it. I don't want it." And I think that is part of the connection point for keeping the boutique label is as soon as they go with a large conglomerate brand, whatever brand you want to go with, what it doesn't matter if it's STG, if it's General, does not matter. But as soon as they go under one of those umbrellas, then they go, "Oh, well, you know, I don't know that I want to necessarily support that," which is a wrong approach 100% because it still supports people. It pays for their livelihood. It takes care of their families, all those different things. But there's a different feeling on the consumer end when, I mean, I'll give an example, and I know people there, and I'm not slamming the brand at all. You hear about Camacho. What do people say about Camacho now? Oh, pre-Davidoff Camacho was good. But does that make Camacho now bad? No, it means that it's different. It doesn't mean that Davidoff has ruined Camacho. It just means that it's being owned by and run by somebody else, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the cigars are bad or have gone downhill. I mean, I had the brand new Camacho anniversary a
No,
week ago,
they're fine cigars.
and it was a fantastic cigar. So I think it also depends on how long somebody's been around the industry. Because if you've been around the industry since the 90s and saw it go, you know, the tail end of the boom in the 90s and then drop down in the early 2000s and then, you know, sort of riding the roller coaster wave for the last 20 years since then, if someone's been around that long, they're going to have their opinion of, oh, they're a sellout, or oh, this, or oh, that. And I mean, look at the questions that came up after Alec Bradley was sold and bought out, you know, of, oh, what's the quality going to be like? Are they even going to be involved in the process 5 years down the road? You know, and all those different things. There's an automatic connotation of, oh, is it going to be the same? And I think that's why brands like holding on to the boutique moniker and that label and going, we are still us. Does it make it bad when someone like Matt Booth gets bought out, or when another brand gets bought out by somebody else or absorbed into, or any of that? No, it's not bad at all. I mean, the announcement that came out at PCA of Apostate Cigars falling in under
I have no idea how they Ovego Negro.
Oveja Negra, and
Oveja Negra.
falling, you
I
know,
have no
under that
idea how
umbrella
they
now.
did that. That
It's
was
a
the best thing that
fantastic
ever
thing for
happened
them.
to them. Best thing that ever happened to them.
I mean, the tobacco that they have access to and all of that now, it elevates them to the next level. So why is it a bad thing when another brand gets absorbed by an even bigger company? And yes, Oveja Negra is really distribution and partnership with them. They haven't bought out Apostate, you know,
No, but their
but
access.
yes, but the access is there. And, you know, the comment a second ago, it's a huge, I think it will forever be a gray area.
It will be. And on the Oveja Negra partnership with Apostate, they're actually coming on in a couple weeks. I gotta say, everything that James Brown is putting out is just hit after hit after hit. I bought their the 10-year anniversary thing, or 10-year anniversary thing, the boombox.
Uh-huh.
It's banger after banger after banger, and I haven't had all of those, so like I'm only smoking half the box because it's 2 of everything, and then 3 of the Lanceros. So that makes me happy because I get to smoke 2 of them. But
Yeah, right.
but no, so to be part of that is just stellar for a company
Mhm.
like Apostate. You're talking signing with one of the probably, correct me if your opinion is different, of this, within the last couple of years, probably the fastest growing company in cigars is Aveo Negro, Blackworks,
Oh yeah, I
Black
mean,
Label. I mean,
yeah,
he's
Black Works, Black
everywhere.
Label. He is everywhere, and
And he
it'll
had
be
no
really interesting.
experience in cigars.
No,
None.
and it'll be
None.
interesting because if you look at the entire portfolio from Apostate Cigars, and I know Brandon and Kendrick very well, they're very, very good friends of mine. Um, I talked to them at PCA, and I was like, you know, one, congratulations, and both of them were, of course, on cloud 9 and elated and all that. But if you look at what their entire portfolio is of blends, they are not a stereotypical Oveja Negra
No, they're
blended
not.
brand at all.
They're
But what this
not.
could open up for them, there's the boombox, but what this could open up for them with access to tobacco, with new blending, with all these different things is absolutely, I mean, the sky's the limit for them. And some of the stuff, I mean, they came out with little cigarillos at PCA. They were like crack to anybody that got to try them. And it's not a Fuma where it's a single tobacco leaf.
Oh
It is
yeah.
one of their blends blended in a cigarillo, and it was absolutely insane. Now imagine what they're going to be able to do with access to tobacco and with James and his knowledge that he's gained and the portfolio that's there and partnerships and distribution and all those different things. I could easily see Apostate 5 years from now being one of the brands that is, you know, another Room 101, or, you know, another, and I'm not going to say Dunbarton level, but is another brand that is looked at as like, wow, look at where they started and look at where they are now. Apostate will easily be one of those brands because they have already proven themselves with where they are now. I mean, the Feathered Serpent, that
100%.
Candela is absolutely
Oh,
insane. Maroney's Trumpet was on my top 10 list last year. What they put
amazing.
out is incredible. And now that they're going to be getting access and distribution through Oveja Negra, I mean, come on. It was a no-brainer for them.
What was the Cathedral cigar, the last one they did in the series? It was put out last year. Why can't I think of it? Their Holy
Uh,
Temple one.
yeah, I don't
Um,
remember the name of it off the top of my head. I have
that
Maroney's
was
Trumpet stuck in my head.
amazing. That was
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. So like I think if first off, if you guys, if anyone watching does not like Candela, I can understand that. I like
try the Feathered
Candela. I
Serpent. It will
try
change your
it.
mind.
First off, it is it looks like the Candela just went through war. Okay. I love the fact that it's a dirty Candela. It's a dirty in all like the rustic, robust ways that make it look good. You know, it's like if you were to put like a heavy structure filter over a Candela. And it smokes beautifully. If you guys have never been open to a Candela, smoke that one. I would say it's a mild plus. It's
Oh, yeah, mild
medium
plus for sure.
minus for in my palate. It might be a medium in some palates. It's not a
It's
weak
interesting though.
Candela.
No, but it's interesting because I mean Kevin and Kerr, who obviously we both know very well, absolutely. I mean Kevin drools over that cigar. He loves that Candela, and he's one that likes the grassy chlorophyll notes
I
in
do
it.
too. I do too.
But I'm not huge on it. But I love that Candela, and I don't pick up an overwhelming amount of chlorophyll in it and the grassiness and all of that. But Kevin says he does. Now, different palates, different people. I totally get that and respect it. But if it was a super over the top chlorophyll grassy Candela, I wouldn't care for it. But for my palate, I absolutely love it. But then you go to others who make Candelas that are very good. You've got the Espanola Wasabi. You know, you've got the Founders Candela that they have, which I enjoy, and it's a tangy Candela. But there isn't anyone in the market right now that holds a candle to the Feathered Serpent by Apostate Cigars.
Which you failed to mention probably the holy grail of Candelas, in my opinion, before the Apostate came out, which was the Illusione, the Holy Lancer.
I was going to say,
Candela.
yeah, the Illusione one.
That
and that
is-
was Kevin's number one until he had the Feathered Serpent.
Yeah, so there are cigars, and I'm actually curious, and I would like to go through these with you. There are cigars I feel that if you smoke this, you'll get an understanding of the category. Holy Lancer, the Holy Lancer Candela from Illusione, I thought was the best of its class, best in show. It showcased a Candela for everything it could be, but I gotta say, the Apostate just blew it away. Yeah, the Aladino Candela is not bad, but I think so much of what Tim's talking about is the fact of the ruggedness of that Candela. I think there's just less chlorophyll in it because it's not so clean. I mean, it is a little bit more rugged. It's a lot. It's probably it looks like it's a little thicker of a Candela,
and it's blended a little deeper too.
It is. It's blended much deeper, much richer. So let's go through this real quick. I want to go through your flagship Candela, Habano, Maduro, so on and so forth. I will start. My flagship Connecticut is got to be a Perdomo Champagne.
And that's a respect your decision. In my opinion, that's one of those canned responses. And if you love it, that's fantastic. It is
no. I'm saying flagship, not my favorite. I'm saying if I'm recommending a Connecticut to tell somebody this is what a Connecticut should be like, that's what we're projecting. So I would I would say the Champagne is one of
Champagne 10th anniversary is synonymous.
Correct.
Absolutely. Champagne 10th anniversary is synonymous with this is what you want a Connecticut to taste like. And there are two others that are in close contention, in my opinion, that I would recommend to somebody, not because they're my favorite, partly one of them is, but they both come from now Casa Carrillo, EP Carrillo. But I would recommend to anybody that wants to see what a traditional good Connecticut is look at the EP Carrillo, not the reserve, but the not New World, that's AJ. It's the smaller one. New Wave, the New Wave Connecticut.
Okay.
To me, that is a stereotypical. If you want to know what a Candela, or I'm sorry, a Connecticut is, you go to the EP Carrillo New Wave Connecticut, not the Reserva, because the Reserva is a little bit deeper, a little bit stronger, a little more pepper in it. But I would go to the New Wave Connecticut there, or honestly, their brand new Connecticut that released at PCA, I've had multiple times, is insanely good, but it hasn't been around long enough to have people understand it and go, okay, yeah, I can go to a lounge and pick that one up. Along with the 10th anniversary Champagne, the New Wave Connecticut is a fantastic one. And I mean, there are a ton of others that are out there, but from a brand that's been around, from a recognizable name, and from one that you know is putting out a good cigar, much like the 10th anniversary Champagne, just like, you know, Nick Perdomo putting his stuff out, you know, Ernesto Perez Carrillo is another one of those names that San Latano, Connecticut is a good one. I don't disagree with that one at all, but I mean, you can't go wrong when, you know, EP is making a Connecticut.
So, what would be your go-to Habano?
Ooh, go to Habano to recommend to someone. Um, Honestly, and it's because I was on this one for so long. I think it defines the Habano segment so well. I'd go with the Espanosa Habano. Espanosa Habano number 4.
I was really, I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for Espinosa. I, I, I like the heavy pepper. I think they blend their Habano a little bit on the pepperier side to
Oh, that's
showcase
Eric's palate.
that. But
Absolutely.
that is, I feel, a stunning showcase of a Habano.
Yep. Yeah, that one is very, very, I mean, it is um it is as typical traditional of a Habano with spice as you would get. Cornetto Maduro or Cornetto Habano is very good. Cornetto Maduro was actually my number 1 last year, so I love the Cornetto line from Crown Heads. But the Espinosa Habano for me just perfectly defines a good Habano. And there are tons of others out there. But again, if we're going to recommend something that somebody can go to, that they're going to be, accessible enough, I would go with the Espinosa Habano.
What would you say for now, everybody? I'm giving my opinion as well. Tim is actually a reviewer. His palate's much better than me. So, probably going to agree with most of his choices, but I'm really curious because nobody really cares about my opinion, anyways. But, Tim, as far as a Maduro is concerned, where would you start? Now, again, as far as what I feel showcases a great Maduro, sweetness level, and I'm specifically sweetness level alone. Again, I come back to the 10th Maduro from Perdomo. I'm not talking about pepper. I'm not talking about strength. I'm talking about showcasing specifically the sweetness level of the wrapper alone. I think the 10th Maduro, the 10th anniversary Maduro from Perdomo does a very, very good job. If I'm looking
Okay.
for pepper, I'm gonna go with something Espinosa wise.
Yeah, and for me,
Or actually, the Micallef Black is probably
Micallef
one of
Black
my
is
go-to Perdomo is probably one of my go-to Maduros.
Maduros. Yeah, so I'd go with a couple different ones. I'd go back to Casa Carrillo and the Pledge. I think the Pledge is a perfect display of the sweetness. Yeah, you get some of the pepper, but you get the sweetness, you get the earthiness, you get that full body um, just depth that's in there. So the EPC Pledge is good. But I would also go with the Umbagog. And personally, I'd go with Umbagog Bronzeback. The
Now,
Bronzeback did
okay, I will.
phenomenally well.
I will.
That was
Yep.
number 2 on my list last year.
I will
And
say that's a better balance. That's a better overall balance of what the showcase of the tobacco can do than the 10th Maduro from Perdomo. The 10th Maduro from Perdomo, I think, showcased the wrapper better, but I think the
Mhm.
Umagog showcases the blending capability of a Maduro with a mix of everything else better than probably most Maduros out there. I would agree with
Yeah,
you.
and
And
if you
that's
want to
in a
get
cheap Maduro.
Oh, absolutely. And if you want to get to another really good, I mean, obviously the Cornetto Maduro was my number 1 cigar of last year. I absolutely love that. And I respect the comment that said, something about the Maduro they couldn't get into. That's totally fine. Different palates for different people. But the West Tampa Black,
Love it.
that is an incredible cigar. In fact, it was on my top. What was it? That was the Black was on my list in 2022 as the cigar of the year. It came in at number 10, but it was on my top 10 for 2022. And then the following year, the West Tampa Red was my number 1 for 2023. So, I mean, the darker stuff from Rick Rodriguez, I mean, let's face it, and I asked Rick this, I think it was off camera, if you were to say what you've put out now was as close as paying homage to the CAO Brasilia that you did when you were with
Correct.
CAO and General and all of that, would it be the red? And he said, yes, it would absolutely be the red.
Oh, okay. Okay. See, I think, and I've said this to Ricky. I think he kept his best blending for himself. I
Mm-hmm.
think what West Tampa's putting out now is better
Oh,
than
the Attic
anything he put
series.
out with CAO. Well, the attic, the Circle of Life.
Circle of Life.
His Lanceros are incredible.
Yeah, the Circle of Life was my number 3. So last year, number 1 was Cornetto Maduro by Crown Heads. Number 2 was the Umbagog Bronzeback, and number 3 was the Circle of Life. And 2 of those had kind of funny. 2 of those had EP Carrillo support on them, rolled by, partially blended, all that kind of stuff. But you can't go wrong with West Tampa. You just can't. Ricky does not make bad cigars.
No, he doesn't. And you know, I've actually argued with him about this on my show, in a playful way, of course. He
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
consider himself a master blender, and quite
Oh
frankly,
no.
I love that he doesn't,
Oh, the
because
humility in that guy is amazing.
that means he is. And I've literally told him this. You know, like on my show, like, I don't care. You're not. This show thinks of you as a master blender, so like, deal with it. I will say to this, the Gran Habano Lancero is incredible. Now, where are we at with broadleaf?
Ooh, broadleaf. I think if you want the best display of broadleaf, you probably go with the Tabernacle.
I agree. I is the Lancero, the Solita Red, I think is brightly amazing in the broadleaf line. I would agree with you on the foundation. I've said this to Nick. He's the king of broadleaf.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. The Tabernacle is one of my go-to cigars when I'm too lazy to pick out a cigar to lounge.
Yep.
Because I always know I'm getting something good.
Oh yeah, you can't go wrong with Tabernacle at all. And yeah, you know, reblending and going to different factories, and everybody's like, oh well, the Wise Man this and all those different things. You can't go wrong with the Tabernacle connected broadleaf.
Now, what about Cameroon? I will say, Tim, if you have not had the Karen Cameroon,
I have not.
oh my God. That is one of my, I would say, top 3 Cameroons, if not my top Cameroon that I've ever had. It showcases the beauty of the soft, the delicateness of it, the sweetness to come across it. It is just absolutely fantastic. I would strongly recommend you find K by I keep wanting to say K by Karen because that's what it used to be for so long. But the Karen
Old
Berger
habits die hard.
Cameroon, the Karen Berger Cameroon is absolutely fantastic.
So there are 2 that are on my list. One is the Aladino Cameroon.
Good cigar, great cigar,
Great cigar.
great
I
cigar.
love the Aladino Cameroon. And people are going to think that I'm slanted totally towards EPC, but their 15-year anniversary is Mirfell Cameroon. It is genuine Mirfell Cameroon, and it is insanely good. Now, it's not an inexpensive cigar. It's going to set you back a couple pretty pennies, but it is genuine Mirfell Cameroon. I mean, you can't go wrong with it. But I would say readily available, easy to get. I'd go Aladino Cameroon.
Okay.
The Nub Cameroon's very good too, though.
You know, the Nub is such an interesting story. And I'm, since you brought it up, I'm curious to see your opinion on how much gimmick it is versus reality. And what I mean by gimmick, I mean mentally a gimmick. Not, we obviously know it's a cigar, right? But the purpose behind it is to shave off the first third.
Yeah,
so
you get 2/3 of a cigar.
But the reality of it is, when you smoke a cigar, part of the second third that's good is the resin buildup on the end of the cigar and how it burns into it. So, in being very candid with you, I don't see that a nub is necessarily better than any other size cigar in that category.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you, because part of, and you talk to any brand, any of the true master blenders, the reason they say the second third is the best part of the cigar is because you get a transition from the first to the second third. They blend together, the harmony of the transition and all of that, and to start at a second third and not get the lead up to it, you're taking away part of what makes that second third so amazing as the tobacco leaves change, as the way it was bunched, the way it was rolled, all those different things. Do I enjoy some of the nubs? Yeah, I
I love
do.
them.
But
They're
do I
great.
think it's much more gimmicky than anything? Yeah, absolutely I do. But does it work for them? Oh, it sure does.
It saved the brand.
Yeah.
It legitimately saved the brand. Oliva was definitely in a downward from that one, and I think a lot of the reason why Oliva was in a downward was the brand is just old and hasn't been updated.
Yeah.
It's like before Old Style updated their cans, it's still the old can, uh,
Yep.
because the reality of it is Oliva is great tobacco. I mean
Mhm.
the nubs are really good. It's a 60. It's a little thicker than like what I like to smoke,
Right.
but I do, when you watch somebody blend a cigar and make the cigar, they pull pieces to your point and they lay it across. So as they lay those across, that's what actually builds the flavor, not the
Right.
second third. If that was the case, then every cigar would be made as the second third forward.
Absolutely.
So, appreciate you going down the rabbit hole of that with me because
Sure.
again, I love having you on, and I know you're always so busy, which is why for those of you that don't know, he is all over the place with his kids, like legitimately all over the place with his kids. He's Cub Scout
Family is life.
leader. He's Cub Scout leader. His family, he will drop everything for. So it's always sometimes kind of hard to get Tim on, but since I have you on, I'm curious
Yeah.
what your thoughts were from the PCA in Orleans versus Vegas. What was your thoughts? Did you enjoy it more, less? Was it the same?
So everybody says New Orleans is a dirty city. And I mean, I got to preface this by saying I live 30 miles away from Skid Row in downtown LA. So I've seen dirty cities. It was not very dirty at all. I loved the city. I loved the environment. It was my first time ever being to New Orleans. And I liked the convention center. I liked the layout. I liked a lot of different things there. I liked how they had outdoor areas for the opening night party. All those different things played so well to it. The city welcomed us with open arms. I liked how there were multiple venues to go to for the different brands to put on, their unveiling of a new cigar or their parties, those different things. I liked New Orleans a lot because of that. What I like better about Vegas than New Orleans, though, is there was a central hub place where you could go to and you knew you were going to hang out with people. Yeah, it was the Circle Bar, and you knew that it was going to be an hour and a half till you got a drink and you're going to pay, $60 for an old fashioned. But there wasn't that with New Orleans, and that part of it was partly missed, but in other ways wasn't missed much at all because I hopped around to a couple different events each night and, did different things. But overall, personally, I like New Orleans better. I'm glad that it's there next year before going back to Vegas, I think for 2 years and then back to New Orleans. Now, selfishly, I like Vegas because it's a three and a
It's
half hour drive for
closer.
me. It's super easy. It's a 3.5 hour drive. I don't have to go on, 5.5, 6 hours worth of airplane flights. I can drive, I can take all my gear, I can take all my stuff with me. It's super easy. But in many ways, I like Louisiana better. And the city was amazing for us. I mean, the governor of Louisiana came at the opening day when they were doing the different, opening day sessions and seminars, and lit up a cigar and said, if anybody gives you a problem for smoking outside in public, tell them the governor says don't worry about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I had heard about that. That's a huge test. Now, what I am curious about is why the fuck don't they have it in Miami or Tampa? Is it literally just the venue size can't fulfill it?
I don't think there's enough, and this goes to my event management background for those of you that don't know. I spent over 2 decades in the event and hospitality management industry, directing events, managing, creating, producing, hospitality, catering side, event management, product. I mean, everything, video, audio, visual, all that stuff. I don't know that Miami can, from a hospitality hotel standpoint, I don't know that they can be a central enough location to house everybody and still have a venue that's going to hold the trade show. And I could
Okay.
be wrong. I would love to be proven wrong on it, but I don't think that they have the ability to do it. Trust me, I'm sure Governor DeSantis would love to have the tax revenue, would love to have people come to Florida and welcome them and do all of that. I just don't know
Well, yeah,
if
that's
the logistics
cigar
of it.
mecca. That's
Yeah,
cigar capital.
I just don't know that the logistics side of things would work out as well as a place like Vegas or New Orleans.
What
So,
were your top three can't waits from PCA, and what was a under the radar that you were shocked by?
ooh, um, under the radar, which got put on the radar, probably was the Cigarillo from Apostate, because everybody, yeah, Richard, I appreciate that. The Apostate Cigarillo was insane, but it flew under the radar because it's Apostate, and the news of them coming under Oveja Negra for distribution, I think, overshadowed that. But I mean, Kevin, Karen, and I smoked multiple of those Cigarillos throughout the entire trade show, and we're in love with them every time. So that's probably under the radar. But as far as top cigars that I tried, the best cigar that I had that was there was the new one from Plasencia, the Alma del Cielo. That is
Oh, okay.
fire. It is
Wow, I'm surprised you
insanely
said
good.
Plasencia.
I'm not usually a big Plasencia
No,
fan.
you're not. You're also,
They're
yeah,
yeah, they're darker for my palate. They're usually too rich, too deep. You know, the Alma del Fuerte,
super
all of the ones that
peppery.
they have, and they the vitolas that they do, you know, the 6.2 and all those different things to me are kind of gimmicky. And you know, the blending that they do usually isn't to my palate, but the Alma del Cielo is absolutely insane. I mean, the high elevation tobacco, the story behind it of repurchasing the farm, you know, that grandpa used to own that he had to sell off, you know, and all those different things. It's got a compelling story, but the cigar is just insane. That was the one that I went into it going, okay, it's Plasencia. I'm here at the media thing. I at least want to try it out. And I mean, I was maybe a third into it and I was like, oh, geez, this is just not stopping. And it got better and better and better. And that was my cigar of the trade show. I mean, bar none. And the one that I'm looking forward
Wow.
to trying
What's
that
MSRP on that, real quick? Do you know? It's got
I
to be
don't know.
over 20, probably.
I want to say it's 22, if I'm
Okay,
not mistaken, something around there.
so
But the one that
400 in your state.
Yeah, exactly, 400 on sale in the bundle bin or in the discount bin. But
Clearance.
yeah, clearance bin. But the one that I know multiple people had that people talked about that I'm looking forward to trying, that's in my rolling case here, that I brought back with me, is the Sinistro Mr. Red, or the Mr. Sinistro. Sorry, Mr. Red came out years ago, but the Mr. Sinistro, that one, from what I have heard, I mean, and Brandon from Apostate tried it, and he was like, that was my cigar of the show. And so it's one that I'm really looking forward. I only have one, and I mean, I was I was given it, and it was the only one basically left before they were out on the last day of the show. And so Coleman gave it to me, and he was like, "Hey, look, I would love to give you more for reviews and all that, but I just don't have them." I said, "Don't even worry about it. Not a sweat. No, you know, no problem whatsoever. I'm appreciative that I at least got this one." And so I've been waiting to review that and smoke that. But the Mr. Sinistro is the one that I'm looking forward to trying the most. And
I haven't
then
heard a lot of people talk about Sinistro lately.
they are a great definition of boutique, but what
Oh, they're
James
fantastic.
and Coleman put out is so good, and they're a great brand. Good people, good
No,
guys.
they
I mean,
are
they're here in
fantastic.
Southern California. I mean, they're not far from me. I've met up with James, you know, on more than one occasion, hung out at cigar bar or cigar lounges and different things like that. But the one that I tried that I enjoyed a lot, and I've had multiple of them. I'm actually out. I was supposed to do a review on it, but I smoked them all. Oops. Is what just dropped from Casa Carrillo is their new Connecticut, their new Essence line Connecticut that adds on to or finishes off from the Honduras and the Maduro and all the ones that they have. Their new Connecticut is another tried and true, very stereotypical, buttery smooth, delicious Connecticut.
Well, I again, it's the brands that you brought up, like the Sinistro. I don't hear a lot of people talking about Sinistro anymore. I've always thought they've been great. I still smoke Sinistros. And then the last one you had said was the Casa Cuevas, Connecticut, right?
The Casa Carrillo, EP
Casa
Carrillo.
Carrillo. Casa. Okay, so I want to talk to you about that too. But so the Casa Carrillo, um, I'll be upfront with you. I don't smoke a lot of EP Carrillo.
Sure.
And it's got nothing to do with the negativity of the brand. It's great
Yeah.
cigars. I'll have to try that Connecticut, but I am really curious. I heard Cigar Coop was talking about the implementation of Casa Carrillo. Okay. And he was actually doing this on the whole stock exchange over on Cigar Dojo. And they were talking about how Casa Carrillo came about because EP's looking to get out. And he
Yeah.
culminated the brand under not his name as far as the brand name EP, but Casa Carrillo, because that's usually easier than giving off a specific person name.
Yeah,
Do you
and I
agree
don't
with
know.
that?
I don't know that part of it specifically, and look, you know Brandon, and I've known Brandon's literally like a brother to me, and he's a broker for Casa Carrillo. I think part of it is the generational changeover to E3. You know, Ernie's son, Ernesto's son, Ernie. I think part of it is just the generational changeover, and Ernie is taking on running the majority of the company as of right now, and doing a lot of that, and Ernesto is doing the blending side of things.
So you would
And I
agree that a little bit that maybe EP's stepping back, which is why he took EP
Mhm.
out and put Casa Carrillo in.
But it also matches up with when they renamed their factory from Tabacalera, was it La Isla? I think
Yes,
Tabacalera La Isla to their factory is now, you know, the Carrillo factory, just very
Correct.
simple and easy. And I think it's brand, it's a rebranding to make everything fall in line, and it makes it very simple and easy to remember that way. Now, let's be real. I mean, if you've been around the industry long enough, you know La Gloria Cubana, who actually Ernesto did a collaboration with and just released it. You know,
Well,
you know that
he
that's
was
where
their
Ernesto.
master blender. He started
Uh,
as La
he-
Gloria's, right?
yep,
Master
yeah,
blender,
he
yeah.
did that, and then you know, starting EPC and doing that. You know, he's not, his knowledge obviously one day will be gone when he is, but you know, I think he recognizes, and nobody's told me this, but it's my observations. I think he recognizes where he's at in age, what he's accomplished, what he's done, and it was time to rebrand. And I don't know if that came from E3 or who it came from, but I think it was recognized that there needs to be this transitionary phase, and rebranding everything was part of that.
So that brings me to my next question as far as your opinion. Do you find that picking up a Room 101, I love Matt Booth. Okay, I have his Nakatomi, one of 100 Nakatomi signs. I love Boofy. I love Boofy. Okay. Do you feel a brand like Boofy or Dunbarton or Caldwell, um, that when these people leave the brand's gonna suffer? Yes, Forged bought, or General bought Room 101,
Right.
but do you think when somebody like Boofy leaves Room 101 entirely, do you think that will eventually hurt the brand? Or because it's not named after Boofy like a Caldwell, they can kind of get away with that? Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and the only way I can answer it is look at Tarano Cigars, who now doesn't exist anymore. And Tarano was one of the most respected, reputed brands around in the 80s and 90s. I mean, their Exodus line was just insanely good. I mean, I remember having one when I was on Down to the Nub with Brandon when we were doing that show, and we had Jack on, and I showed him what I was smoking, and he was like, I don't even have those. How did you get that, and where did you get it from? And can I take the last one from you? Oh, my camera decided to go out of focus. There we go. Come back. And I missed. There we go. Um, and but you look at Tarano Cigars now. I mean, I had a Tarano the first time I met Brandon in person, which was now probably 6-7 years ago, and I had one at a lounge, and it was plugged. It was not flavorful. It was not an enjoyable experience at all. And you know, it's going to hurt if you look at Tarano, only Tarano, and there are other brands. But if you look at only Tarano as an example, people don't know that Tarano cigars existed unless they've been in the industry for more than 10 years. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Correct.
And I hope that isn't the same for Alec Bradley. I hope that isn't the same for Room 101. I hope that isn't the same for, you know, others that may go down that path. But, you know, with what's evident as of right now, it hurts.
Well, so do you think that the consumer is buying their palate and that's what they love? Or is it the love of the cigar? Does that make sense what I'm asking? Meaning like somebody like you take a Steve Saka that
Mm-hmm.
is just relentlessly ruthless with his
Mm-hmm.
own brands and his own
Yeah.
lines, and you take him out. Does the consumer buy his palate or do they buy his brand? Because that is going to differentiate if the brand lives beyond the person. Correct? Is that a fair statement?
It's a fair statement, and I think in Sokka's situation, I think it will definitely hurt because people enjoy Sokka's larger than life. I make cigars I like. I don't care if you
Totally.
don't, and I'm going to sell a unicorn for $100 because if I can make the $100 off of it and not sell it for $20, then why wouldn't I? If people are going to open their wallet
Sure.
and pay it, I think that's why there's part of the allure to that. Now, I mean, you can look at it the same way as Jonathan Drew, you know, with Drew Estate, you know, their graffiti, their outlandish designs, all the different things that they do. You know, that's part of the allure to Drew Estate. Now, when his artistic creativity and all that goes away, whenever that is, years and years down the road, is that going to change the brand? Yeah, it probably will because his influence won't be there for it. I mean, it's like Crown Heads. I mean, you look at John Huber and his hats and his designs and his branding and what he does and all those different things. That all comes from John's head. And so when you look at somebody like a Steve Saka that goes, oh, I've got this, I've got that, and you sit and talk with him, and I've talked with him on multiple occasions. I mean, this year, my interview with him, it was just sitting and talking and shooting the breeze. I mean, I've had people that are like, how did you get Steve to be normal? I'm like, I told Steve this off camera after the interview. I said, because I talk to him like he's normal. I don't
Yeah.
kiss his feet. I don't bow down and kiss the ring. I don't worship the ground that he walks on. I talk to him like a person because guess what? He is a person. And, you know, people enjoy the personalities. They enjoy all of it. Yeah, absolutely. Dunbarton is a cult following 100%. And, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, you either love him or you hate him. And, you know, you buy the cigars because it's Steve putting it out. Now, if that exact same blend were to come out from a brand, and we're going to go with a smaller brand, Big Sky just popped up. If that exact same blend came out for Big Sky, it wouldn't have the same cult following because it doesn't have Steve's personality attached to it. I mean,
That's my
Room
point.
101 doesn't. Yeah, Room 101 won't have Boofy's personality attached to it one day. Room 101 won't have Caldwell, you know, Robert and his uniqueness and you know how he operates. That won't be there one day, and you know all those different things are going to, I think, significantly adjust the perspective on that brand.
I would agree. And I will have to say the best thing I saw at PCA, bar none, without ever smoking anything. I didn't go. Everything I watched was through your videos and Coops and Kev's.
Mm-hmm.
Was the Room 101 humidor.
The humidor,
Bar none,
gorgeous.
the best thing I have seen at PCA for a couple of years. As
Yeah,
far
it was
as
absolutely beautiful.
the showcase, I remember Abe saying he sold his allotment before he left the carpet of
Oh,
Room
I'm sure.
101.
Yeah,
You know,
I believe it.
Kevin, we all saw Kevin's indecent and photo of him in bed with it, you know, but
Yes.
like, again, that I feel that creativity that Boofy brings to the brand is the brand.
Yep,
And
100%.
and I feel that when that goes away, like the gregarious, I don't give a fuck what you think attitude of Steve Saka, I'm going to tell you if a cigar's good or bad or indifferent. I think that that hurts that brand when Steve goes. I don't think an STG can take a Dunbarton and keep it at the same level. And a lot of
No.
that is, I think a lot of people are, because when you have the owner is the blender, I would consider Steve very close to a master blender. with his knowledge, with his expertise, learning under who he's learned on, the companies he's raised, the effort he puts into going down to Nicaragua and everything. I would put him very close to a master blender status, if not at that status, but I would put it for his company. If he left Dunbarton, I don't know that he would have the same success at a different company blending. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And it's funny because this year, my interview with him, if you haven't seen it, go check it out on
Oh,
my
it's
YouTube
great. It
channel.
was great.
He even said, he goes, when I came here, everybody expected me to put out, the next Liga 9.
Correct.
And he goes, and I didn't do that. And then we went to go do this, and people thought, oh, it's predictable, he's going to do this, and I didn't do the predictable thing. He goes, I made decisions that probably were the wrong ones. He goes, if I would have come out with, something that's done well, for me, he goes, I came out with Sober Mesa. He goes, as opposed to coming out with Saka Khan or those different things. He goes, I'd probably be sitting in a much better position financially than I am now. He goes, but I did it my way. And, I may not be liked by everybody, but it's my company and I'm going to run it that way. And he is also, he's a marketer. He's a businessman. He's a strategist. He's all those different things. He knows what he's doing. And he is very, very knowledgeable on tobacco. I mean, let's face it. You go to anybody who's been around cigars for more than a year and you ask them, oh, have you had a Liga number 9? And everybody like, oh yeah. I've had that before. Oh, did you know it was Steve Saka? And they probably wouldn't know if they're newer to the cigar industry. But as soon as you say Steve Saka, did it, and Nick Melillo's involvement, all those different things too. But and then you say, oh, he started Dunbarton. I guarantee you, if they like the Liga number 9, which personally I didn't care for, but they're going to go to Dunbarton then, and they're going to become a loyalist because if they like the Liga number 9, they're going to start choosing Dunbarton because he's the one that did it.
So, who, in your opinion, is it's the best way to ask this question? Who, in your opinion, are the top 3 to keep an eye on for industry trends?
Keep an eye on for what? Sorry, I didn't hear that part.
Industry trends. I think Steve has his hand on industry trends. I think Boofy has his hand on industry trends. But in your opinion, where do you find the brands that are leading the industry? I don't think Rocky is leading the industry. I don't think
Rocky,
Drew
Fuente,
is leading the
Padron,
industry.
Newman, I don't think any of them are. And I have no disrespect for any of them, but they, for lack of a better term, are set in their ways. But I would say Steve is one of them. I'd say Pete Johnson is another one, because Pete is still a dark, full body, rich, deep cigar manufacturer and blender and does all of that. But he pays attention to what's going on, and he is similarly minded to Steve in the vein of putting out what he likes, but also what he knows is going to sell and marketing him well. So I would say Steve, I'd say Pete Johnson, and then a third one, probably Ricky Rodriguez, because he's been around so long. He's got the institutional knowledge. He's got the experience. He knows tobacco, and what he has put out. I mean, the new Devil Crab, I haven't had it yet. I hear it's fantastic.
I hear it's amazing.
From format sizing to doing exclusive things to all those, I would say that probably Ricky Rodriguez is probably the third one in there. And yeah, there are others that are out there that know tobacco extremely well. But when you look at what has hit well, what is doing well, what gets good reviews, all those different things, those 3 brands consistently do very, very well.
The only thing I would say about the Devil Crab is the 50 count box is a little too much.
I mean, yeah, it's a 50 count box, but
that's a huge expense.
It is.
And I've always told people, if you're gonna go bigger than a 20 count, you better have a 10 count.
Yeah, or it better be a $6 cigar.
Correct. You better have a sampler box or a smaller box to go with your bigger box.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. I would think I think that the names that you had mentioned are absolutely have their finger on the pulse of the industry. I would
Mhm.
add kind of a sleeper to that is Micallef, and the reason why I
Oh
would
yeah.
say Micallef has their finger on the industry on that is they're producing their color series sub $10. You're not
Yep.
getting better.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. I saw Dan at PCI. I didn't get a chance to interview him. He's looking crazy healthy. He's lost a ton of weight, but what they're
A
putting
ton.
out is is insanely good. I mean, because the Micallef Black was. I'm looking here at my list. I've got all my cigars of the year lists here hung up. In 23, the Micallef Black was number 7 on my list. Phenomenal cigar. I mean, strong cigar for their portfolio. It's well known that Al was like, yeah, this is not my palate. It's too strong for me, but a fantastic cigar. The blue is good, all of it.
Yeah, I think where I think Micallef has gone great is they came out, I think, a little hot for their britches. They came out
Okay,
of the gate a little expensive for their britches. You
sure.
have the Leanda, which was
Oh yeah.
in Colorado, which is a plus $20 cigar. You had a lot of others, but then I think when Dan came on and really started to like get his feet underneath him in this, was realizing that the biggest market underserved is sub 10.
Oh yeah, and they have been a grassroots brand for years now. Brick and mortar sales only, nothing online, and they
No,
have done it
brick and
well.
mortar sales only to the point where he has sent out cease and desist letters to
Hmm.
people that don't know the stories. You know, the famous
Oh yeah.
Pravada story. You
I
know,
mean,
with
they are to put it for lack of a better term, they are the grassroots guerrilla warfare marketing in the cigar industry.
they are the biggest supporter of brick and mortar. I feel in the cigar industry,
Hmm.
hands down. If you do not have a brick and mortar, they won't even work with you.
Hmm.
So that leads me to my next question is that important to have brick and mortar? You live in a state of California. My guess is you're not going down to your local lounge, dropping $100 on 3 cigars. You're going online. So what's your thoughts on online cigar buying and supporting local brick and mortar?
Um, when I do buy online, and I'm going to sound like a total arrogant jerk for a second, I don't typically buy many cigars. I'm really, really fortunate and blessed in that way. Um, but when I do, I go online, but it's a place that has usually a brick and mortar component to it, like Fox
Okay, or
Cigars or
smoking.
places like that, or Smoke Inn or any of those that are. I mean, I bought from Abe at Smoke Inn many times, um, but the brick and mortars are the backbone of the industry. Um, and without the brick
Why?
and mortars,
Why?
um, because that is where the face-to-face cigar lounge environment is fostered. And without the face-to-face cigar lounge and great equalizer of sitting next to somebody in a lounge, without that component of the industry, um, the equal playing field and the great equalizer of cigars significantly goes away. And without the brick and mortars there to foster that environment, a key component and really part of the origination of the cigar industry gets lost.
So you don't have a problem buying online, not supporting your necessarily zip code local, but you like to support a brick and mortar that sells online.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And
And
I do have, I mean, one online that is just strictly online. He's a good friend of mine, carries all the smaller boutique stuff. Little Guy Cigar Shop is who he is. He's in Arizona, and he's a good friend of mine. But that is the only online only place I buy from. I don't buy from Pravada. I mean, the last time I bought from Pravada was when he did the Jeremy Sire cigar 4 years ago. And I just, that's just not my thing. I like supporting a place that has a brick and mortar that supports a family or someone who has really worked hard at building a business that supports their family and other people's families because um, it's the DNA of our industry.
now I've got a little bit of a bone to pick with you here in the last couple minutes of the show.
Okay.
And that is, why hasn't Founders been on yet? You and I are good friends. I found you a piece of equipment. It's taken you a lifetime to find, literally a lifetime.
I'm using it right now.
No, but in all seriousness, for those of you that don't know, Tim also is a rep for Founders Cigars, which is a very, very good cigar brand. I've had two of their cigars over the last several years, exceptionally. But I have been told that we were going to have them on.
Oh, well, let me make a couple phone calls to Angelo and Brian, and I no longer do the repping for them. It just was talking about busy schedules. It was just too much for me. I still support them. I saw Angelo at PCA, interviewed him. I mean, they're
Oh,
one of the
my
brands.
bad. I thought you
No,
were
it's fine.
repping for them as of
No,
a few months ago.
yeah, no, that's not a problem at all. But it was one of those things where it was better to just let them know, hey, it just doesn't make sense for my schedule, than to try and shoehorn it in and do them a disservice. But no, I still talk with them pretty frequently. They're great, great guys, veteran-owned company out of Minnesota. And yeah, I mean, I'll reach out to Angelo. That's not hard to do, and I'm sure they would love to come on.
All right, so everybody, we have Tim saying we'll have Founders on. So if we don't have Founders on, I want my audience to completely flood Tim
Do it.
with why don't we do this? Because Founders is one of those also boutique brands that's really
Hmm.
gaining a ton of freaking traction and getting
Yeah, they did
a
really
lot
well
of
at
good
PCA.
reviews and a
Yeah,
lot of
they did
good
really well at
feedback.
PCA. They switched their blending. They were being blended at a different factory. And part of, I guess, me connecting people, which I love doing, networking and connecting people, they switched over to the, uh, what was the Cub Scout one?
No,
What did
he
that
said
come?
intervenes with it's Boy Scouts. His kids are
Oh,
too old for Cub Scouts.
yeah. So I'm on the Boy Scout level now with both my sons. But, and I work for the organization full time. That's my full time job. But, Uh, yeah, when it comes to founders, I introduced them to Luis Cuevas Jr. And Casa Cuevas is doing all of their blending now. They switched that over about 2 years ago. And I can tell you that it took their brand up to a whole new level with rebranding. Umberto Arias with Cigar Package Design has redesigned all of their stuff, and it is just top notch.
No, it is. It is. Casa Cuevas is one of those brands that I think should be much bigger than it is, personally. But again, I'm a geek, right? We're all geeks in this industry if we're on these types of shows. We know significantly more brands than the average cigar
Oh, yeah.
smoker. So, here in closing, Tim, what are I want you to give me your personal reasons why you started smoking cigars, why you continue smoking cigars, and why you work in this industry.
Started smoking cigars because I was 18. Then it was still legal at 18 to buy cigars, and went to, this is a really fancy place. Went to Walgreens and bought a um, Garcia y Vega in a plastic cream tubo, and it was the most absolutely disgusting cigar I've almost ever had.
Vintage.
But yes, but there was something really appealing about enjoying a cigar. It was with one of my high school buddies and or college buddies, high school good friend, and my middle brother. And there was just something I enjoyed about it. And smoked them very, very, very rarely at that point, maybe 2, 3 times a year. And then when I started dating my now wife, one of the Christmases, everybody went in the backyard. All the guys went in the backyard and all lit up cigars. I was like, I could totally enjoy this family, and just got more into it then. And then working in the event industry, one of the guys that I would help manage his events for owned a, or still does own a smoke shop down in the San Diego area here in California. And as a thank you gift, he would send me a box of cigars. And so I got more and more into them, which led to one of my best friends, Kyle, who runs Now Smoking Revelry podcast, which used to be Dad Smoking Cigars. Led to the two of us starting up that channel and getting into the media and doing that. But I enjoy cigars because there's just something that is so enjoyable, relaxing. It forces you to slow down. It's a stress reliever, all those different things. And I won't, and as far as I'm concerned, I won't ever stop smoking cigars until the day I die, because there's always going to be something new to try. There's always going to be something that I fall in love with or fall in love with again. And on the media side of things, I never really expected to get into media. Think Tim needs to convince them at Founders to give a prize back. Oh, that's easy. We can do that, or a prize back. Yeah, we'll get them to give away something. They laser etch onto custom boxes and all sorts of stuff. But but on the media side of things, I never expected to be involved on the media side of things. Really, it was a fun hobby that turned into more. And then when I launched my own YouTube channel 5 years ago, actually this month, then it just the connections built. And Brandon Wells is a huge the main contributor to getting me involved in the industry. I'll always give him credit where it's due. And I just built relationships from there. And I love being part of the media. I'm beyond blessed with what I get to review and check out, from cigars to accessories to humidors to everything in between. And I just enjoy being part of an industry where I get to share my story. And really, at the end of the day, my cigar channel was never and is still not intended to be one that grows to being 10, 20, 30, 100,000 subscribers. I have no desire for that. If it happens, cool. I don't ever see it getting to that point. It was to chronicle my cigar journey and share it with others. And if they wanted to pay attention, great. And if they didn't, then hey, that's fine too. But I never expected it to be to the point where I'm going to trade shows where brands are sponsoring my entire trip out there, putting me up, taking care of all that. I would have never guessed when I started doing Instagram posts with Kyle 7.5, 8 years ago that it would have led to this point.
Well, you and I are in that same spot, because I sure as shit didn't expect this show to be even around after 3 weeks of me starting it. So you and I are in that same spot here. So Tim, um, tell everybody how to find your show, your reviews. I will say, everybody
Oh,
go and
Bruce.
visit Talk Tobacco Talk Media.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tobacco Talk Media. I mean, Tobacco Talk Media is really the umbrella that I fall under. Yes, it's all still me, but I created the media side of things so that going to trade shows, it was legitimately that I am part of media. I get press releases sent to me. I've got the new one from Crown Heads that I need to actually post. That came yesterday, I believe. Miguel sent it to me. And so tobaccotalkmedia.com is the place where you can go and get press releases. I've got other industry news, a news feed, things like that come from Half Wheel and other places like that. But my main access point, if you will, is my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/CigarShowTim. All my videos, reviews, accessories, humidors, products, whatever it is all up on there. And then on social media, you can find me anywhere at Cigar Show Tim, all one word. And then if you're on YouTube and you put Cigar and Tim, it will probably come up with Cigars Daily Tim Swanson. But yeah, Cigar Show Tim, all one word. Search that on YouTube and I'll pop right up.
Well, everybody, this has been another episode of the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show, but I do have, Columbo style, one more question for Tim. Tim, I love this question. I stole it. I stole it from James Lipton at Inside the Actors Studio, and I think it's a perfect question for you, because for those of you that do not realize or do not know Tim is a heavy shirt on his sleeve Christian, and wears it with pride and proud. So Tim, here in ending the show, question I want to ask you is, what do you want to hear when you see and meet your creator?
I mean, if I take it straight from the Bible, it would be, well done, my good and faithful servant. And to know that at the end of the day, my job here on earth to have God be known and for people to love him is absolutely paramount. But more so than other people coming to know him is that I was a good steward with my wife as her spiritual leader and with both of our sons in teaching them who God is and why it should be so easy and natural to fall in love with him and want to know him more.
I love it. I love it. I lied. One more question.
Yeah, go for it.
When do you give your sons a cigar? I know they're
So
young.
both of them,
Don't say
my
21. Just be honest.
my oldest has already asked me multiple times, when I die, does he get all of mine? Because he's the oldest, and he feels like they're naturally going to him. And every time a new box comes and I have them, he's like, "Well, how many do you have now? How many do you have now?" And I'm not going to share the number because it's inconsequential. It doesn't matter. But every time I come home from a trade show, my youngest is like, "How many new ones did you get?" And each time their jaws hit the floor, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's X amount of dollars worth of cigars." But when it comes to their first time smoking cigars, both of them have already said, "Well, Dad, we know it's legal to smoke at 18. We just can't buy them till we're 21. You have more than enough. So on my 18th birthday, can I smoke a cigar?" And my response every single time has been, "That's a conversation you have with your mother. I will have no problem with it, but I'm
Oh,
not going to be the one that answers that and have her get upset with me and me have to face the retribution." And actually, my 14-year-old, who will be 15 in a couple months, brought it up a couple weeks ago, and my wife said, "If you want to on your 18th birthday, I don't care. I'm fine with it. It'll be with Dad, no problem." So more than likely, on their 18th birthday, they'll both light up.
fantastic. Well, Tim, you are a great friend of the show. You've been a great friend through this entire endeavor of the creation of this. You've watched this from the beginning. You've been an integral part of me asking advice. So I really appreciate you always being willing to kind of come on when your
Absolutely.
calendar and your schedule allows. Uh,
Absolutely.
Tim is a very, very busy guy. And if you guys have not caught his stuff, definitely go on YouTube. Check out Cigar Show Tim for the
Thank you.
best reviews that you will get, bar none. Not only that, but
Thank
the
you.
best audio and visual and camera work that you will get, bar none. Um, so, Tim, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for coming on, brother. Really appreciate how much you support the show, support me,
Absolutely, brother.
and until we see you again, smoke what you like, smoke as often as you can, and have a great, great rest of your week. Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.